So last time we were able to successfully design our database, right? And also we were able to access it using our web-based application. So we are done with the web-based. So we have written something in PHP, correct? So we wrote something in PHP, and we were able to extend our our network's database, right, using the website. So we created a website, but this time you're going to create a LAN-based application. When I say LAN-based, this application should only run within the office, within the company's vicinity. Okay, we don't extend the connectivity in the remotely. Although you can do it, actually Visual Studio can be connected remotely from your office, but I don't suggest we have to do that for some security purpose. Okay, let's say for example, let me just copy this database so that I'll just discuss to you the theoretical background before we proceed with the actual coding. Okay, so what we have done last time is we have the cloud here. Let me just add one so that you will get what I mean. Let me just add one image here. Let me just get one object here. Okay, so let me click this on. Okay, so now let me get one image again. Okay, so last time what we have done is we have this setup, right? And then we have this server. Correct, so we have this. So we have here an HTTP server. Okay, if you remember last time, and then we have also our MySQL database, right? So we have this setup last time, if you remember. So mostly our clients will be accessing our external people will be accessing your database. So this internal, okay, I'm referring to this one, internal. Okay, so this is your internal network, and these are your internal resources. And last time we create a website, right? So the external people, they try to access our website, so that they could connect to our database. So we have a third party server here to serve as the bridge between our client in the website and the database. Okay, so this is a safer approach, because we don't give direct access with the MySQL database here. So this is a web-based one. So in this setup, you could apply extra security, right? Like session tracking, and also controlling how the user behaves with your database. So you can do it in the HTTP server. So you can configure your HTTP in such a way to control what the user might do in the website. So this is a safer way, because we have a third-party server in between to access our database. So what I'm saying earlier, although CSharp and Java, okay, allows you to access your database remotely, but I don't suggest this. Okay, this is not a safer approach. Let's say, for example, you have a client here and you want your client to access your server via the internet. This is not safe. Okay, because there's no third party entity that could verify what this user can do. So we cannot go directly like this here, okay, using the internet, because hacker may go in between here. Hacker may run man in the middle attack, and then they could sniff whatever thing is passing through here, and also it can inject. Okay, it can inject along the way. So we don't suggest that this application in C# should access our server directly like this, although you can write programs in such a way you could access them directly like this. Okay, so it's not advisable. So mostly desktop application, we don't put them remotely, or what I mean is we don't allow users to access our database remotely using this C# application, but instead we put C# applications or this desktop application within our company's or organization's vicinity. Okay, we don't deploy them to be used by external users unless and otherwise you have a third party entity that could monitor or control what this application does outside your network. So that's why if you will see most organizations, they deploy desktop application within the company's vicinity. Okay, so what happens is we write applications and access is only within the vicinity of the company. So this is a safer way. Okay, so we only write web applications if you want remote users to gain access with your server, since we have a third party entity here, which is the web server, to control whatever the client remotely is doing in our network. So but for cases wherein we give access internally, then desktop applications are fine, because desktop applications does not require any third party server to be configured to connect to the database. So what you will do is you just have to write the code to directly access the database here. And mostly these desktop applications are good for back office transactions, meaning, let's say, when I say back office, whatever the clients are inputting on your web page can be accessed, okay, or can be accessed using your desktop applications in your office. So let's say, for example, your employees or your staff would be able to access and process whatever inputs your clients have done or your remote users have done using the web page here. Okay, so again, let me remind you, desktop applications are only good, they have to be deployed within the vicinity of our company. Okay, we don't deploy them outside our company, so please make note of that. So if you want to do this, then you have to ensure that there would be a third party entity that could verify. So some programmers, if they want to deploy these applications remotely, they may use third party applications like this. So for example, they can use XML. Okay, they can use XML, or they can use JSON array. It could be possible. Okay, so you could write application here if you want to use C#. Okay, I mean, you want to create GUIs like this and you want your remote users to use them. Okay, if you want your remote users to use them, it's fine, but see to it, as I've always emphasizing in the discussion, see to it that there will be a third party, okay, mechanism. Still, you have to let this application pass first the HTTP. So what you will do is, there are some ways on how you could do this one. The response of the HTTP server could be in the form of XML, or it could be in a form of JSON array. Okay, so this is another way. So this is what other programmers are doing. Okay, so the result from the database query is being sent back by the HTTP server in the form of XML file or JSON array file, and then finally it is being passed through the application here. But don't go directly like this. Okay, I don't suggest you to do direct access to your database. This is not a good practice because you are susceptible for the man in the middle attack. So you have to do something like this at least. Okay, so the HTTP has still control on what this client application will do in the network or in the database server. Okay, so again, for today's discussion, our focus is merely on how we create C# applications that are within or which are deployed within the company's vicinity. Okay, so let me just make a note in here that this is back office. Okay, when I say back office, it is within the company. Okay, within the company. Okay, let's now create our C# application. So open your C# like this. Okay, then go with this one, select C#, then just call it, let's say for example, tech support back office. Okay, so let me just put it in the desktop. Okay, so we'll be creating a tech support back office. Press it OK. Okay, so this one. So with this back support office, I want to access our database, which was the one which is tech support. If you remember this, so we have the logs, right? These are the logs that we got from the database, I mean from the website. If you remember, this was from the past discussions, and also the messages. Okay, please help me, my print is out of ink, something like this, and then the uses. Okay, so we could be able to access all of this in our application. Okay, so this is our main goal. So we have to design first the interface like this. So we could design the interface. So your favorite one, you can use a container like this tab control. Okay, so you can do like this. Okay, so you could go with the collections. So the first one is, let's call it users. Another one, let's call it messages. Then let's add another one and let's call it logs. Okay, you can press OK with it. So I have 3 tabs here. So you want to display all of this here: logs, messages, and uses. Okay, so let's try to logs, messages, and uses. So we'll try to display all of this into this table. Okay, so later you can, if you want to add new users, it's all up to you, right? Let's say for example you want to enroll new user using this back office, you can do so. So you can do something like this. You can get a toolbox here. Let's say for example here, what's the first field? The first field is full name. So you could design in here, call it full name. Okay, and then you can have to use a tool here, text box, then call it txt full name. And then you can also create the email. Okay, so this one here, email. Okay, then you can go with the tool here, text box again. You could use here the email, call it txt email. Okay, so this txt email. And then you can go with temporary password, okay, because you will let your user to change it later in the website if you want. Okay, so this is you can go with how to create temporary password. Call it temporary password. It's temporary in a sense. User can change it later when your user goes to your website. So you call this one temporary password. Okay, so you can do something like this. txt temp pass. Okay, it's a temporary password. Okay, so you can do something like this. Save it, and then you can put the button here, add. Okay, or if you want to call this one, you just have to add, right, add the user temporarily, and the users can edit their password there. Or if you want, you can also call this one, delete a user if you want, or to disable a user. You can do it so, but you just have to add one field here, which is enabled or disabled. Okay, you can add later, you can do it soon, no problem for that. So temporary password. Okay, so you could do it here, or delete, add or update. Okay, the temporary password, if in cases, if for example the user forget the password, so you can create a temporary password for them. So you can go with some buttons here. Let's say for example this is you call this one cmd add. We're going to add the user, right? So next one here, let's change the text, and let's call the text as what is one? Let's call that this one as add user. Okay, and then you can add another one, a button, and you call this as update user. Okay, then change this into call this one as cmd update. Okay, something like this. Save that one like that. And then if you want to delete the user or to disable the user, it's all up to you. Disable or delete, it's all up to you. Okay, so you can use here cmd delete, then change the text into delete user. Okay, or remove user, it's all up to you. Whatever thing you want to do, you can do so. Remove user like this, remove user. Like this. Okay, and then we have to add the grid here. Okay, we will add a grid, so we call it data grid. Go to data, and then go to this one, data grid view. Okay, just place it in here. So this is like a table, which values are coming from the database. Okay, so let's call this one as DG grid or DG users. Okay, so save it. So maybe you want to change the headers. You want to change the headers of this data grid, right? You want to change the headers. So let me just remove this. Okay, untick this. Just remove this one. So let me go with edit columns so that I could put the headers here. Okay. So the first header is user ID. Second is full name, email, and password. You don't have to display. It's not allowed. Okay. Just user ID, full name, and email. So add the header text. You have to change to user ID. Add it. The second column, you have to call it email. Okay, you have to call the second column email. The bottom here, email, and then add. And then the last one is, what's the last one? I'm sorry, I forgot to write the full name. Sorry. Let me just close this one. This should be full name. Column 2 should be full name. Okay. Okay. Then let's edit again. Add column. Let's call this one email. Add. So we have 3: username, full name, and email. Okay, so we could now edit these columns, and let's try to change the data property. Okay, so the data property, this one, the data property here pertains what field are we going to display here, which field of the data of the table we want to display. So this is only the headers. Okay, we're referring here the headers of the table. We are not yet setting what would be the fields or the columns that we want to display here. In the data property name, okay, this one, so you have to copy this as it is: user ID, full name, and email. So we have to click this and go here. You call this one user ID. Okay, as it is. You have to copy exactly what is in the table. Okay, press full name. This one is finished, user ID. Then full name, you have to write in here full name. And then here you have to write email. Exactly matching what is written in your table. This. Full name, email, okay? Like this one. So expect now these fields will be displayed properly in this field. Okay? Next, let's design the messages. Okay, let's have the messages here, which is this one: message ID, user ID, message, and then message date. Okay, so let's try to look what is in here. So let's have the grid. Again, it's a data grid view. Place it here. This time, let's call this DG messages. Okay, this one, save it, DG messages. Okay, so same thing, you have to edit the headers of this grid. Go again with edit, just uncheck this one first, we don't need them for now. Then edit columns, add. The first one is message ID. And then the second column is user ID, the ID of the user sending message. Okay, then the next one is message, the message itself. Then the last one would be message date time. Okay, message date and time. Okay, so when you press OK, you will have this. Okay, so let's edit the column again and change the property, the data property. So here is message ID. So again, this one should be message ID. It should match, okay, exactly your database column, I mean your table column. And then user ID here, and then the message here, and this one is message date time. Okay, so that's it. So you can now go with this. Okay, then logs. So we have logs here. So we have log ID, user ID, activity, log date, and machine IP. So you can again create another data grid here, place it here. Okay, so let's rename this as DG logs. And then we just have to untick this and edit the columns. Let's add the first column, which is log ID. Then another header, which is user ID. And the next one is activity. Then the next one is log date. And then the last one is machine IP, right? Add. Okay, that's it. So then you have to bind, or you have to assign the tables column that you want to display on that particular data grids column. So just type in here log ID for this one, then user ID here. Based on the table here, you have to get to user ID. In activity, check it out here, it says activity, right? And then here we have the log date, and here is we have the machine IP. Okay, so these are the fields or the columns that we want to display on our applications here. And of course, don't forget the magic button. Don't forget the magic button, right? It's very important, which is, of course, CMD exit. Don't forget this, is very important. Okay, that's it. So we're now ready to code. Okay, we're now ready to code this application. So the first thing you have to do is to connect. Okay, we have to connect this this form to our database. So but before that, you have to do the referencing. Okay, because we're going to use MySQL connector, right? So let me just check in my programs if my MySQL connector was installed, the one I discussed to you last meeting. It's very important. Okay, the MySQL connector will let me connect this one. It says MySQL connector net 8.0.17. so my driver is installed, so I can use it so that I could connect this one with my MySQL database. So I'll go to project, and then I'll go to add reference. Okay, so when I select references, it will show all the libraries available for me to use. Okay, so I have to look for MySQL. If MySQL is not listed here in the framework, then I have to go with extensions. Okay, so I'll have to go with extensions, and I could select here MySQL if it is displayed. Let me just close this project. Let me go with properties. Let me change the target. I'll be using 4.6. Okay, and then let me go with project. Let me go with references. Okay, so let me go with this one. So normally it will be displayed here. Okay, extensions, and it should be displayed here. MySQL should be displayed here, which is this one. MySQL data. It says MySQL data 8.0.17. Just tick this and press OK. Okay, let me repeat. Project, add reference, then go to extensions, and then select MySQL data. This one. You have to select this one. Then press OK. So meaning you're going to import the library for MySQL so that we could access the MySQL connection, data adapter, and data set, the one we are discussing last meeting. Okay, this is it. Okay, so just let me check the reference again. So extensions, and then MySQL is checked. Okay, it's fine. So let's now reference MySQL. You have to type using MySQL dot data dot MySQL client. Okay, so this is the library to use when connecting to MySQL. Okay, so this is the one that you're going to use using MySQL data MySQL client. So this is the result of importing in the reference this one, this extension. This is the purpose, this one. Okay, so you can now proceed to the next step. Let me just go to my MS project so that I will see, MS Teams, so that I will see if my screen is logging or not. Teams. Where is that one? Okay, this one. Let me just check if okay. Okay, so let's proceed to this one. So first we have to connect our form. So let us just have to make a sub here, which is private void connect to DB. Okay, so the job of this function is to connect us to the database. Okay, so basically there is a connection string. We call it a connection string so that we could connect to our database. Okay, so we have a connection string. Let me just make a variable here, it's const string equals, okay, for us to connect to MySQL. So this is same with your PHP earlier or last meeting wherein you want to connect to your database. So it's very simple. You can go to Google and type CSharp connection string MySQL. Okay, so you will see plenty of them here. Okay, so this is the example of connection string. Just right click this one and you will see. So if you want to connect to MySQL, then these are the connection string for C#. Okay, server, database, UID, and password, PWD. Okay, so if you want to include the port, let's say for example you change the port of your MySQL, because by default MySQL runs in 3306, right? If you remember last time. But if you as an administrator you change the port number of your MySQL, then you have to specify this. Okay, you have to include the port number if you change it. So you can copy this. Okay, then place it here in this code. Okay, so this one. So this is the the connection string. So my server is localhost. My port number, I did not change it, so 3306. So you can remove it if you want, no problem. The database is, what's the name of the database? The name of the database is actually tech support, so you can change it with tech support here. UID is root, I think, and then my password may be root, if I'm not mistaken. Root. Let me just we will know later if I have the right password. Root. Okay, then after this you can declare one connection. We have here MySQL connection. This one, MySQL connection con. Okay, so we will be declaring a connection. Okay, so connection is the one responsible for connecting us to the database. So I will use it in this method, which is called connect to DB. So I'll do try, so that if in case I'll have mistakes, I will know what will be the problem. Okay, so MySQL exception ex. So message box dot show x dot message. So if I have mistake on my connection, then it will be shown here in the dialog box. So you can go with this. You can go with con equals to new MySQL connection, and then you can have in here the string. Okay, the con string. So if it is successful, then it should say message box dot show connection successful, or database connection is successful. Okay, so if it is not successful, and then it should give me a message here why it's not successful. So in the form load event, form load means when the form appears in the screen, it should connect to the database. So you have to write in here connect to DB. Okay, so then we could run this. I have a mistake. What's a problem here? 4.5.2. So you have to change again my target. 4.5.2 reference. It says 4.5.2, so you have to go with this. Yes. Yeah, it says database connection is successful. So I was able to connect to the database successfully. Okay, so it means now while this form is running, it is connected to the database. So the next step that we need to do is how we will get the data from the database to these tables here. Okay, so this will be our next task. So let me just put a code on this button. This no no application dot exit. Okay, so our next task is we have to show data here. Okay, show data for this one, and also show data for this one, and also show data for this one. Okay, so we have to code show users, show message, or show logs. Okay, so let's create three functions here, or methods. Private void show users, keep it like this. Then we have here private void show logs, and then here private void show messages. Okay, so our purpose is to display all of this here. Okay, this one. So remember, this is DG users, this is DG messages, and this is DG logs. Okay, this one is DG logs. So we want to populate data in these three tables here, or data grid views. So let's code it. Let's start first with show user. So you have to remember, the one responsible for populating these tables will be the data set. Okay, and also the data adapter. Okay, so we have to create instances of the data adapter here. MySQL data adapter DA equals, just keep it like this, and dataset DS. Okay, so we have two, data adapter and dataset. So this data adapter connects to the database table. Okay, this DS creates a memory or in-memory copy of the actual database table. Okay, like this. So let's try to go first with users. So you have to make your SQL statement. Okay, this is very important. So you have to make here string SQL. Okay, so this SQL here holds the SQL statement. Okay, so let's now try to go first with the SQL statement here. Equals select, right? Select, what do we want to display in the users? We want to display only user ID, full name, and email, but not password, right? User ID, full name, and email. So I have to write in here user ID, full name, comma, email, right? From where? From users. Okay, like this. So after you have written your SQL statement, and then you have to instantiate a new copy of the adapter. So you could write in here DA equals to new MySQL data adapter, this one, close parenthesis. It takes two parameters, first the SQL statement and the connection, which is con. Okay, we need this connection here. Okay, so it takes two parameters, the SQL statement, this, and the connection, which is this, the one you connected earlier, which is this one. Okay, so after this, dataset or ds equals to new data set. Okay, so we will create this, then go with try again. This is very important so that we will know what happens or what is happening to our connection. MySQL exception ex, then message box dot show x dot to string. If in case it will be error, it will tell us what went wrong in our code. So since we have this, okay, our SQL statement, what fields we want to display, full name, email, we want to display it, and then we have the data adapter. This one will connect to our database. This will connect to the database table, and then the DS will create a memory copy of the table. So you can now populate your data set with da.fill ds, then the name of the table here, which is uses, okay, like this. Okay, so meaning we will create a copy of the table, in-memory copy of the table, the disconnected copy of the table from the DA, the data adapter. The name of the table is uses, and then we will put it on the data set. Okay, and then now we're going to populate the data grid with the contents of the data set. So dg uses dot data source, meaning the source of this data grid will be from ds dot tables 0. Okay, like this. So we want that the content of this data grid will be coming from the data sets. Okay, so it means that it's like this. Let me just copy this so that you will get what I mean. Let me copy this one. Let me copy this, okay? MySQL. So the process is like this. So this is your form, right? This is your MySQL, this is your Visual CSharp application. So first you connect in this process. First you have to establish your connection. That's why you have your MySQL connection here, okay? Then after the MySQL connection, the next step is the adapter, MySQL adapter. Okay, I hope you can see it. Then after this we have the data set. Okay, and then we have here the data grid. So this is the hierarchy. Okay, first connection should be established, then this one, next adapter, then after this one is data set, and then you have here your data grid. Okay, so this is the sequence: connection, adapter, and data set. So if you remember in the past discussion, we have two types, right? So in this side we call it connection oriented. Okay, this connection oriented, okay, from the past discussion. This side, from this side up to this, connection oriented. Okay, so this one is not connection oriented. So this is actually running in the memory, okay, of your machine. So this runs in the memory of your machine, this side here. Okay, so this one is connection oriented. It has to keep connected. Okay, once this is disconnected, data is still present in your machine. Okay, the data is still present in your machine, but it runs in the memory. But whatever changes was made in the database, it won't reflect here in this side of your program, in your application. So the MySQL adapter and MySQL connection are the ones responsible for synchronizing what is being shown on the data grid view and what is in the database. What are the actual data stored in the database. So this is the combination, okay, of these four components: the connection, the adapter, and the data sets, and then the data grid view. So what happens is we bind the data grid view with the data set. Okay, so the MySQL adapter fills, okay, the MySQL adapter fills the data set. Okay, so the MySQL connection provides data to the MySQL adapter based on the SQL statements. So in here we have to get an SQL statement. Okay, okay, and then the MySQL adapter fills the data set with data, and then the data grid view is bound, or we do binding for the data grid view with the data set. Okay, so let's see what happens now. But before that, you have to call this function show users in the form load. Okay, like this. So when you run it, what is that one? Access denied for user root at localhost using password. Yes, my password is not correct. Let me try this. Yeah, so I have a wrong password. So this is it. So it's now displayed in my grid, if you will notice, right? So I was able to display it in my grid. So the same code you're going to apply to logs and messages. You just have to copy this, then you just have to replace the values later. Okay, paste it and paste it here. So let's go with logs. What do you want to display with logs? You want to display it here, right? In DG messages, in DG logs, right? You want to display data here, and also with DG messages you want to display. But let's start first with logs. What do you want to display with logs? In logs, you want to display everything, right? Everything: log ID, user ID, activity, log dates, and machine IP. So you just have to replace logs with this symbol. This symbol means all. Okay, you want to display all from logs. So just change this one, call it logs, and change this one to DG logs. Okay, save it. Same with messages. What do you want to display with messages? You want to display all, right? So likewise, you have to change this one into this, then change this one with messages. Same, change this one with messages, and change this one with DG messages, like this. Save it. Okay, then same, you have to call this here. You have to call them here. show logs, show messages. Okay, like this, then save it. So when we run it, it will be like this: messages and logs. So all of them were displayed in this in this three data grid views here. So the time is finished. We will continue next meeting, which is tomorrow, for the additional coding. We will code the add user, update user, and remove user tomorrow, God willing. And thank you so much for your time for attending this today's class. Thank you so much, and masalam.